when you're growing up here, you're going to Oakdale and you go to high school at Edmond, and then people are probably students and friends are going to OSU, they're going to OU. You're into soccer, and obviously you're into music because you choose music business to go to Nashville. I mean, Nashville is Music City, isn't it? It's
absolutely.
So you're 18 years old thinking, I am going to Nashville. That must have been a great feeling.
It was, and even now, I loved every second that I lived there. And we left right after I graduated. I mean, literally graduation, and the truck was packed and we drove out. And so, but it wasn't because I didn't love it. We loved Nashville. We loved, the outdoors. We loved the music. We loved the community that was there. And there was a lot happening. I mean, it was a great place. The weather was brutal. I'm not much for big humidity. Of course, I live in Oklahoma, so I have to get used to it. But
nothing like it is down there.
Yeah, but it felt different.
Yeah.
But there was so much excitement there. It's like, what is this going to look like? Like, what are my chances? Belmont sits at the end of Music Row, and it's like, what does that mean? And what is this? What's the history of this? And the opportunities are endless. All you have to do is work for it. Be a good person, ask a lot of questions, say yes to opportunities, and what could happen.
Yeah.
And so I think I left there in a different spot than when I went, which is what should happen.
Sure.
At that age and through those experiences. And, I went in thinking, hey, maybe I'll get to work in publishing or, copyright law or something like that. Or, even like managing bands and groups and venues I'm opening a coffee company. And that's a strange thing to say that I gained from Belmont University living in the Music City. But all those things help. They're all foundational pieces. And I was excited for what we did. And I learned a lot about my other passions of, being on the bicycle and being outside and what that community feels like. I learned as well there. And I took all those things and I think I'm still using them. So I was stoked. It was an exciting time to be in Nashville. And now it's, tenfold different than when I was there. And I'm still excited to hear friends doing great things.
So obviously you were into music growing up a lot. What kind of music, what instruments did you play?
So my main focus as a kid was piano. So all through high school, that was kind of my instrument. And then a little bit of keys, MIDI work toward the end. I did a lot at that point in my life in church music and things like that was kind of what I found myself doing.
Very structured,
but just it was kind of the beginning of this like non-denominational kind of music thing that was happening. So I would still probably put it in that like kind of singer-songwriter thing, I guess. Did a little bit of my own, had a band in I think my senior year that was a little heavier. That was fun. It was a great season. And then into college I picked up guitar. I also played a little bit of bass too. So I picked up guitar in college. When you go to Belmont, everyone's better at you at everything.
It's like the movie Fame, isn't it?
Yeah,
like everybody's good at
you show up and have all your gear and you're taking up to your class, and then your roommate also has all that gear and he's taking up to the room, and your hallway people have all their gear, and and everybody is phenomenal. And again, none of these guys were going for music education, they were going for business, but everyone was just really good at what they
talented,
did. And so because of that, there's music everywhere and there's instruments everywhere. And so I picked up guitar, kind of self-taught that, played keys for several singer-songwriter. At that point, Brit rock, this Travis Coldplay kind of thing was hugely popular. So I played for a couple of guys that had a very synthy Brit rock sound and did that for a while. Played locally with a group, another writer that just needed a backup band. Still did the church thing for that those 4 years too, and it was good. I had a fun time. I learned quickly that I really liked the back line of what music was. All through high school, I was the front guy. And, in church on Sundays, I still was that. But being able to go and show up and say, hey, this is the weekly schedule. These are the places we're playing. And I got to show with my keyboards and create my little cocoon back there and play was really great. And it started, I think, opening my eyes to what the fact that like support is a big deal. My buddy Evan couldn't do the things he was doing without all of us backing him up. And so I started to understand that music business is a pretty like self-fulfilling thing. And what can my role be in that? Because it definitely wasn't, it was becoming apparent that it wasn't to be the man. To be the front man and have all the eyes. I didn't like it anymore. And I liked the business of it because the front man in most cases was the one that was running things. But I didn't necessarily like to be or need to be this guy that everyone was seeing. I was happy to be behind the lights. And I think there's And I think the guys I played with the same way, and seeing some of those guys on the Grammy shows and making huge hits with huge bands is incredible. And I can remember lots of shows and lots of practices in the apartment, you know, like in the apartment next to having conversations with the electric guitar player about who's doing what pad. And, you know, cause we were, you know, at some point, like electronic is electronic. And if we're both doing that, but having these conversations about how do we play with each other, not over each other, and how do we, who's going to do what, and you know, and then I see him playing with groups like Little Big Town, you know, and it's like he's doing the same thing, he's crushing it, and it's awesome to see, and it's exciting, and I can hold on to this time that we had conversations about the importance of playing together and collaboration, and you know, this theme that I have right now is this collaboration over compromise and how we work together, and I mean, honestly, I can tailor this back to being in bands, and it wasn't about the head person or the writer or the director of the music. It was about how do we as a band come together to help make this guy great. Yeah. That's our job. Yeah. And the reality of it is that most of us would have gotten replaced had he gotten to the next level, which is fine for me. Yeah. You know, and then some of those guys went on to big things, and that's great too. Yeah. And I was super excited for them. And that's kind of, that was that world for me. That's
such a melting pot of talent, but also like, it all comes back to, like you said, collaboration, community. You know, you're all coming together to make this sound and put on a show and make sure that the front man has the backing that he needs. Yeah, lift him up. And that's exactly the same as what you do in business. Yeah, that's
exactly right. Right? And in fact, I had this weird, I woke up last night, there's a venue called Exit in Nashville, which a lot of people have probably heard of. Mm-hmm. Awesome place. And it's one of those places on the wall. It's like all the bands that have ever played there. You know, so it's on the left side, you know, if you're on stage, so stage left, it is this huge wall, and it's all the huge people. Yeah. And I remember sitting there thinking, like, it's funny that like a group of us are playing this thing here. And so we show up and we get everything in, and the head guy comes in and he's like, man, my voice is about to go. And we're like, wait, this is the worst time for that to happen. And so all of us are mic'd, and of course we know every word, and it's like, hey, I might need someone to like
pick up.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, that's fine, but it's not like, this is your stuff. So having someone else sing your songs when you're standing at the front is kind of strange. But really, like, the answer is sure. You know, like, mix our mics in the mix like you would if we were out front this time, and that's fine. And we'll carry you if you need it. And luckily, it didn't ever have to happen. But I just remember that conversation of like, wait, your voice is going away and you want one of us to like take over for you in the middle of a song. That's strange.
The trust is there.
Yeah, but it needed to happen. And I think it was just one of those weird, it's a weird thing I woke up with, and I don't know why I was thinking about that, but I think there's just something to how music works together, and, you know, and there's business everywhere.